everyone. Good evening, everyone. Thank you. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Springfield Township Board of Trustee meeting. Today is September the 10th, 2019, and it is approximately 5:30 p.m. I'd like to have a roll call, Mr. Vernon, please.
Yes, Mr. Harnwell,
Present.
Ms. McFarland,
Present.
and Mr. Murray couldn't be here tonight.
Thank you. And if we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'd like Mike Gould to lead us in the pledge, please. Thank you, Mike. That was fantastic. Okay, approval of minutes. We have minutes from our regular session on August the 13th, 2019, and regular work session August the 27th, 2019. Need a motion?
So moved. Second.
I wasn't
You weren't here on that. Okay. We can table that to the next, I think, next meeting. Gwen was not here for one of those.
Yeah, correct.
So why don't we do that? I'll make a motion that we table approving those, the minutes for our August 13th, 2019, and the August 27th, 2019 meeting until our next township meeting.
I second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. Next on our agenda, well, no, we have a very, very special recognition this evening. And I'm going to turn the meeting over to our fire department, our fire chief.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. McFarland. At this point, I'd like to ask Captain Kevin Richards to come to the podium, and he'll explain the award.
Good evening to the board, staff members, and the residents. I run the EMS division for Chief Leiniger, and tonight is a special night. We want to recognize a young man, township resident. So without further ado, let's bring them up here. I don't want to be up here by myself. So Jonathan, Ethan, come on up here for a second. We'll get you on either side here. Come on over here. That way I'm surrounded. You guys can protect me. All right. So, on July 19th, 2019, Ethan and Jonathan were riding their bikes down the hill on Hempstead Drive. First of all, I want to give them an award. First of all, they were outside playing, number one, so I need to recognize that. Jonathan, Ethan's cousin, lost control of his bicycle and ran into the side of a moving pickup truck that was clearing the intersection. Jonathan sustained a large laceration from striking the vehicle. If you look hard enough, you can still see the decoration there.
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
Yes. Good stories at school, right? Absolutely. Ethan immediately and calmly called 911. We can't get adults to do that. Ethan then handed his phone to a resident who was better able to give the location of the call. Ethan then proceeded to take a rag that was given to him and applied direct pressure to Jonathan's bleeding laceration. Ethan was able to control the bleeding until our life squad arrived. Ethan credits his ability to step into action by taking a Stop the Bleed class in November of 2018. If you're not familiar with the Stop the Bleed class, all of my EMS instructors teach that class. We have been doing it for civic groups, schools, and so forth. It's a very good class started by some shock trauma docs up in Connecticut over all of the mass shootings and everything else. So it's a wonderful class. We have Wendy from UC Health here. That was one of the instructors. She's kind of the cheerleader through UC Health, also giving classes throughout the community as well, along with us. So with that, we would like to present this Good Samaritan Award to Ethan for prompt action and remaining calm in a difficult situation. So we'll have the chief bring up the award here. Yes, just go right on up there.
Okay. I just want to also say, I think we have perhaps our future paramedic EMT on board. You know, I think that it's always recruiting. So proud of you. So the Good Samaritan Award states the Springfield Township recognizes Ethan Weimer, presented this 10th day of September in the year 2019. The Good Samaritan Award recognizes individuals who demonstrate your great concern for others through exceptional and above and beyond the call of duty, I put that in myself, services for bravery. So congratulations, congratulations. Can I just ask a question before you leave? Is Wendy here? Which lady is?
Yes, ma'am.
Wendy, I just wanted to recognize you for the great work that you're doing, and it pays off. We never know.
It's our first one, and we're very excited. Our board actually hasn't come in yet, but our staff will lead from UC Health, surgeons, trauma surgeons. We are very thankful that we do this, and we have the perfect person that shows that it does work.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Wendy.
Thank you very much.
I may have to take that class. I thought I knew how to stop bleeding. He can do that. He did an exceptional job.
Exactly.
Next on our agenda is our fiscal officer's financial report. Mr. Burning.
Yes, Ms. McFarland, for the month ending August 31st, 2019, the township expenditures were $1,788,138.44, and the receipts were $6,432,706.87. The ending cash balance of $22,695,917.13 includes obligations for expenditures, payroll, regular operating costs, ongoing capital improvement projects, and investments. What I request is a motion to approve the receipts, warrants, payroll expenditures, updated and current revenue and reports for the period ending August 31st, 2019. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great, and I just want everyone to know that financial reports are available for viewing during regular business hours at the administration offices, or anytime on our website. Thank you, Ms. McFarland.
Thank you so much for that brilliant report, keeping us up to date. Next on our agenda is departmental action and discussion items. I'm going to turn this portion of the meeting over to our Township Administrator, Chris Gilbert.
Thank you, Ms. McFarland. This evening I have a few different action items. Actually, the first you have on your agenda is not actually going to be an action item. The Medi-Account Management Agreement. As you know, Medi-Account is the company that we use to do our EMS billing. I just wanted to let you know that that agreement has recently renewed, and we are in conversations with Medi-Account regarding what a new agreement may look like when this particular agreement reaches its maturity date. So I understand that we have another year left on the current agreement. Is that correct? And it automatically renews every year. So we are in conversation with them now to see what a new agreement may look like as we go forward. Looking at the other agenda items I have here, liquor permit hearing request for B&D Asian Plaza, which actually is the new Nepali market here just next door to us where the Brewers Bagel used to be. So there is a liquor permit request there, and I guess there's no objections, correct, Chief?
That's correct. We've done the required background investigation. We don't have any objection to it.
So I would just ask for the requisite paperwork to be sent to the Ohio Division of Liquor Control relative to this particular application.
I'll make that motion.
And I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Lastly, I do have a request to add an approved caterer to the Grove caterers list, Taste of Belgium. He's requesting to be an approved caterer, and I don't believe there's any objections. And Laura, have they filed all their required paperwork?
They have, we need to get one updated license, but I don't think that'll be an issue. So
Okay.
pending the
Okay.
receipt of that. we
Okay.
can approve that.
So I would just ask for a motion to approve Taste of Belgium to the approved caterers list for the Grove pending final legal review of their application.
So move.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next, I have a few different discussion items. First, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Leiniger to talk about a mass casualty exercise you're going to be having down at Great American Ballpark, correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yes, Mr. Gilbert, thank you. On September the 19th, we are going to be having a full-scale exercise, better known as a mass casualty incident, at the Great American Ballpark. Through the collaboration of multiple partners and agencies such as the Hamilton County Emergency Management Agency, hospital representation, Greater Cincinnati Hospital Collaborative, we are putting on this large-scale event to primarily test our efficiency and our capability to handle a large-scale event. We know that we can do the job day in and day out, handling our own communities, but when there's a large-scale event, that's when we're really tested. We are starting at 7:30 in the morning. We will be transporting 300 victims to 6 area hospitals, which will no doubt challenge their ability to handle the capacity. But through that we will find there will be certain things that we'll do extremely well, and we'll do some things that maybe we won't do as well. But either way, it's to really test our efficiency and our effectiveness. We will test and evaluate communications. We will test logistics. We will be transporting, actually 200 will be transported by bus. 100 of the victims will be transported by 40 area life squads, the suburban fire departments, as well as the Cincinnati Fire Department. And we'll check to see how efficient and effective we can be under a mass casualty type event. This is an exercise, but it is to learn from best practice, and then hopefully we will never have to experience something like this, but if we do, we're better prepared.
And I just have to share with you, Chief, you make it sound so easy and casual, but it's very detail-oriented. And every individual that participates in this is being monitored by someone else for effectiveness and best practice as well.
Yes, ma'am, that is correct. And something I really wanted to point to the board was that Springfield Township's actually taken a lead role in this exercise. We will have 4 command officers in various roles during this exercise, and as well as having 2 of our ambulances will be transporting victims to area hospitals.
Fantastic.
Very good. Very
Thank you.
good.
Thank you, Chief. Next on the agenda, we have our personnel update. In the fire department, we had the resignation of part-time medic firefighter Wesley Higgs, August 21st of 2019. I believe Wesley was hired as a full-timer with the city of Cincinnati, so we were sad to see him go, but understand why he chose to leave. Looking at promotions, we did have 2 promotions of part-time firefighters to full-time status. Jason Eckhoff, official date of hire August 30th of 19, and then Madeline Cinquena, official date of hire September 9th, 2019. So we welcome them to the full-time ranks, and I'm sure they'll do an outstanding job. I had the pleasure of meeting both of them before we made that offer, and I think they'll be great. In the Public Works Department, we did have the end of the seasonal position for Madison Mays of August 16th of 2019. And then in the community center, we did have the hiring of Coco Dean as a bartender, official date of hire of August 12th of 2019. Shannon Johnson as a bartender of August 30th of 19, and then Bob Ward for a bartender September 4th of 19. And again, as the board is aware, these are bartenders that work at the events that we have at the Grove Banquet Hall when we have various rentals. And with that, I'll turn it over to Kim Flan for Community Events and Programs.
Thank you. Just wanted to mention that our first Beers and Gears event is scheduled for this Friday, September the 13th, from 7 to 10 p.m. These are new events, and they will happen every other Friday for the next every other Friday, September 13th, the 27th, and October the 11th. Each one features a different acoustic performance, the Mad Tree beer truck, and a food truck. And we have a new area that has been created by our Public Works Department that creates this beautiful beer garden area, and will also be an asset for weddings back at the Grove. So we invite the community to come out for those free events.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
And then lastly, the board has copies of the departmental activity reports. And I guess as part of that, I'm going to ask Mike Gould to talk about various road rehabilitation projects that we will be applying for through the State Capital Improvement Program, which are the 6 resolutions that you see on the agenda. And I know Gwen and you and I had a conversation before the meeting that they're all worded pretty much exactly the same except for a few words. So I want the audience to know we're not nuts. We didn't just reprint the same resolution 6 times. They're actually different resolutions representing each actual project that we're going to be applying for through this very competitive state grant process. Mike?
Thank you, Chris. As Chris alluded to, Mr. Gilbert alluded to, we're going to be submitting 6 applications to the State Capital Improvement Program. In the following neighborhoods, there'll be streets we're hoping to have rehabilitated. These neighborhoods are Wildbrook Acres, Burlington Meadows, Hollydale, Kemper Mill, Brentwood, and Lexington Heights. The State Capital Improvement Program is administered by the Ohio Public Works Commission. Our district here encompasses all the communities within Hamilton County. In essence, that means that every single road in Hamilton County, which we all travel every single day, is eligible for state capital improvement funding. Annually, there's about $11 to $12 million available in grant funding, so it makes it a very competitive process. I can give you just a range for our applications. They range from $2.5 million at the highest cost for construction, all the way down to about $700,000. So that 11 to 12 million doesn't go very far when you're spreading it out amongst all the roads in Hamilton County. I will say many people ask, well, what about my street? Why didn't you apply for grant funding for my street? The streets that rate the best and the most likely to get funded are the ones in deplorable condition. I'm riddled with potholes, gravel, those type of things. Streets that we would identify as being in good condition will not rate. And when you're talking about an application that takes anywhere from about 20 to 30 hours for staff to put together, you want to make sure that the ones that you're selecting are the ones that have the best chances of getting funded. So applications are due next Friday, so it's a little crazy. I've got some newer employees down at my office, or my place, and they walked in my office and it looks like I'm doing tax returns 10 times over. But it's going well. So we'll know probably towards the end of this year, beginning of next year, how well we did.
Thank you, Mike. And I think it's worth noting that there's no shortage of roads out there in the township that individuals feel like need to be resurfaced, and I agree with that. As Mike alluded to, every year we try and look at what roads are in sort of the worst shape and pick those that have the best ability to be funded. Now, it isn't just also, there's a lot of variables that go into it. It isn't just the roads in the worst condition. It's the roads that are in the worst condition, but also are within a particular price range that we think a grant would be awarded for. And then also we try and look for roads that, there are several roads together in one particular area so that we can get an economies of scale when it comes to the contract. So there's a lot of different things that are involved. And I know, because I speak to people every week, that they think their particular street is the worst one in the township. I can assure you that I'm sure there's probably at some point that is true, that I'm speaking to the person that actually does live on the worst street in the township, but most often that isn't the case. And, we have 400 streets in Springfield Township. So, and while I understand that people are just focused on their one particular neighborhood or street, we try and apply for different projects every year. So if this year your particular street or neighborhood wasn't applied for and you meet the criteria to be eligible for the grant, most likely it's in our plans to apply for it in the next year. So again, we probably On average, we might apply for 6 projects. If we're lucky, we get 1 funded. If we're really lucky, we would get 2. So under no circumstances do we have any illusions that all 6 will get awarded. But we'll see what happens. I know we've been successful in the past at getting these grants, so we'll see. So I just wanted to make mention of that. Thanks, Mike, for explaining that because of those resolutions. I'm sure people may have questions. So.
Well, you know, Chris, I was going to say, and the reason we apply for 6 is because you sometimes don't know how these things are going to rate. We might have a team from the county go out and one year rate the street, you know, give it a low number. The next year, and we don't get funded, we apply again the next year, and we've had them where they'll come back and rate the street a higher number. It hasn't gotten better on its own. It's just sometimes the subjective feelings of the of some of the teams that are out making the ratings. And that's why we apply for as many as we can to try and have the best chance of getting some of our taxpayer dollars back from Columbus and putting it back to work here in the community. So.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Well, that concludes my report, unless there are any questions regarding the departmental activity reports.
I have none. Okay. So we're going to begin with the resolutions, and you'll see what we were sharing with you, that you'll hear the same language, but focus on the last maybe 4 or 5 words, which will tell you the differentiation between them. Resolution number 82, 2019, a resolution authorizing Gwen McFarland, Chairman of the Board of Springfield Township Trustees, to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission State Capital Improvement and/or local transportation improvement programs and to execute contracts as required, here comes the wording, for the balloon rehabilitation project. Need a motion.
So moved.
I second it.
Mr. Honeylaw.
Aye.
Ms. McFarland.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
The next resolution is resolution number 83, 2019, a resolution authorizing Gwen McFarland, Chairman of the Board of Springfield Township Trustees, to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission State Capital Improvement and/or local transportation improvement programs and to execute contracts as required for the Brentwood Rehabilitation Project. Need a motion.
So moved.
Second it.
Mr. Honeylaw.
Aye.
Ms. McFarland.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Resolution number 84, 2019, a resolution authorizing Gwen McFarland, Chairman of the Board of Springfield Township Trustees, to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission State Capital Improvement and/or local transportation improvement programs and to execute contracts as required for the Burlington Meadows Rehabilitation Project. Need a motion.
So moved.
Second it.
Mr. Honeylaw.
Aye.
Ms. McFarland.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
The next resolution is number 85, 2019, a resolution authorizing Gwen McFarland, Chairman of the Board of Springfield Township Trustees, to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission State Capital Improvement and/or local transportation improvement programs and to execute contracts as required for the Hollydale Rehabilitation Project. Need a motion.
So moved.
Second it.
Mr. Honeylaw.
Aye.
Ms. McFarland.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
The next resolution is number 86, 2019, a resolution authorizing Gwen McFarland, Chairman of the Board of Springfield Township Trustees, to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission State Capital Improvement and/or local transportation improvement programs and to execute contracts as required for the Kemper Mills Rehabilitation Project. Need a motion.
So moved.
Second it.
Mr. Honeylaw.
Aye.
Ms. McFarland.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
The next resolution is 87, 2019, a resolution authorizing Gwen McFarland, Chairman of the Board of Springfield Township Trustees, to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission State Capital Improvement and/or local transportation improvement programs and to execute contracts as required for the Wild Brook Acres Rehabilitation Project. Need a motion.
So moved.
Second it.
Mr. Honeylaw.
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Ooh, we got through those.
That was tough, Gwen. You did a good job.
And the other resolution is, another one is 88, 2019, declaring motor vehicles located on public or private property in Springfield Township, Hamilton County, Ohio, to be junk motor vehicles pursuant to Revised Code 505.173, and ordering the removal of such vehicles pursuant to Resolution Number 80, 2012, and Revised Code 505.871. Need a motion?
So moved.
Second it?
Mr. Honalaw?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Okay, and the next resolution is 89, 2019, authorizing sale by internet auction of unneeded, obsolete, or unfit for use property in the fire department. Need a motion?
So moved.
Second it?
Mr. Honalaw?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
This one looks, it's a duplication, I think.
It is, except they're two different resolutions, different equipment that were
Okay.
obsolete.
Okay. Resolution number 90, 2019, authorizing sale by internet auction of unneeded, obsolete, or unfit for use property in the fire department. Need a motion?
So moved.
Second it?
Mr. Honalaw?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Resolution number 91, 2019, a resolution appointing Springfield Township trustee Joe Honderlaw to the Council on Aging of Southwestern Ohio Advisory Council. Need a motion?
So moved.
Second it?
Mr. Honalaw?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
The last resolution is number 92, 2019, declaring nuisances pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 505.87 at various listed properties within Springfield Township, and authorizing statutory actions necessary to abate the nuisances. Need a motion?
So moved.
Second it?
Mr. Honalaw?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Ooh, we got through those. You
That was
got
work.
too. Any old business?
I have none this evening.
I have none. Any new business?
No, not.
I have none as well. And this, now we come to the part in our meeting where we have the opportunity for citizens' participation. And one of the things that, one of the guidelines basically is that we have the individual, if you have anything you'd like to share with us as your trustees, to step to the podium and give your name and your address and share with us what your either concerns or good things to say about the great work we're doing in the township. And also asking when that individual comes to the podium that the audience does not discuss anything or talk so that we can hear what he or she is sharing with us. And it looks like we have our first person, Mr. Rivers.
How you doing? Joe
Hi.
Rivers, 2068 Blue Hill Drive. What else I need to tell you? Oh, I'm Shag. I'm president of Shag. Have you guys met Christy Davis?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, okay, then I asked her to sit in tonight. And what I got to say, I had to write it down because, just bear with me, it's a lot I want to talk about. It's frustrating. It's disappointing. I don't mean to offend no one in here. So I'm going to read this, what I prepared, okay? Take about 5 minutes of your time.
That's fine.
Okay, so I'm going to start off with, I have to say that I just cannot remember, wait a minute, I'm sorry. I'd like to say good evening to everybody. I would like to read my comments to everyone because what I have to say, I just cannot remember everything. I have to say, so if you can give me about 5 minutes to read what I have to say to you, first of all, I've been a resident of Springfield Township for 39 years, and when I moved out here, Seven Hills was a quiet and well-kept place to live. I raised my entire family out here. But here lately, Seven Hills now is the dirtiest, filthiest place I ever seen or lived. The area is nothing but a garbage dump, blighted houses, trash everywhere. People drive by speeding up and down the streets, people cursing all the time, people fighting all the time, Dogs, cats, wildlife running around everywhere. Restaurant garbage everywhere. Wendy's, McDonald's, Rally's, Hooks Fish and Chips, Frisch's, Dairy Farmer, and Sunoco. I pick this up almost daily, 2 to 3 buckets of restaurant trash and store trash, just on my street and the next street over. I can remember times when I was younger, I could not get by with certain events in Seven Hills. Like for instance, and I'm going to use myself, I got stopped in Seven Hills and given a traffic ticket for going too slow. The ticket was marked slow speed. I also got one more ticket for loud music from my car and a warning from my home. I also got a warning from code enforcement for my front porch. So what I am saying, years ago, you guys took care of township business. Why did it stop? I really hate to think back then the demographics was different and different kinds of people lived out here. Now, and I believe you guys do not care. I tried talking to residents here about the conditions out here, yet to be cursed out. I tried talking to a landlord out here, which caused us to argue back and forth. He told me it's his property and he would do what he wants to do, and the hell with you. So as I'm going to say, I am no longer going to address no more people out here in Seven Hills again. I am not going to lose my life or take somebody else's life over this disgusting neighborhood. I need you guys on this panel to come on and do your job. I have called and complained to our police, code enforcement, township engineer, etc. I tell you, if SHAG was not doing the part that they do, I wonder what this place would look like. And you know, the sad thing about Seven Hills is it the same people out here that will not cut their grass, will not pick the garbage from in front of their place, will not stop parking on the grass. You guys keep warning them and warning them. Throw a fine their way. I guarantee you it will stop. You fined me back in the day, why not start fining them? They know you guys are not going to do anything. I know quite a few people all over Cincinnati, and word has it, go out to Seven Hills, do what you want to do, sell drugs, prostitute, speed, because they would not do anything. I was helping a neighbor pull his boat in the driveway, and a young man come up to us and asked us, do we need anything? And I said, well, what? He pulled out a bag of marijuana, some crack, some powdered cocaine, and some pills. And we said no. He got in his car and left. Never knew me or my neighbor. The garbage is a very bad problem. Someone threw trash all over Spruce Hill one day, hundreds of lottery tickets, half-eaten food, cars running all over it, and scattering it all over the road until I cleaned it up. Garbage can sits on the street almost until the garbage day again. The business on Hamilton do not clean the trash off their lots. This is just a mess. This is just a mess. Our only park looks like an overgrown weed field. The so-called park walking trail that you made is so rutted out, you could easily blow out a knee or ankle. Al Shadakati Park, you guys took that away. So people say it's a lot of kids out there. Well, they do not have no park to play in. What are they supposed to do? People are dumping garbage at the end of an outlet on Aspen Hill, which they said they cleaned it up. Trash and brush is still there. It's a very bad odor coming from there. I complained twice about this. I can go on with what I have to say, but it would take up too much of your precious time. My kids say, Dad, why don't you and Mom just move? I said, it took me 30 years to pay on this property. I don't want to leave this godforsaken place and don't have nothing to leave you guys. But if things do not improve, I will have to do that. And what I need from you guys, let's do your job and don't tell us what you're going to do when election time roll around. And I thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Rivers. Is there anyone else?
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
My name is May Rivers. I am Joe Rivers' wife. First of all, as I look upon you all, yes, I am very, very disappointed. This does not have to be the way it is. My husband should not have to go in the neighborhoods being cursed at, yelled at, you name it, that he has faced, only because you all have not put anything in place for us to stop. First of all, Seven Hills has been opened up to voucher, whatever you want to call it. This should have never been that you all have allowed so many people to come in our neighborhood with vouchers. I've got in touch with Metropolitan Houses, and I've talked to them concerning the voucher program. A lot of their houses, their gutters are falling off. Mold is coming up on the houses. You name it, it is there. Township, what are you doing about it? No one should have to deal with this. You know, you all are allowing us now to go outside the box, look like, and get help. And if we have to do it, then we will. You know, you sit here like my husband said, and you may say, well, why don't you move? Then I say to you all, if this was in your neighborhood, it wouldn't have to be 10, 5, 8, 90. One person come in your neighborhood with the situation that we're explaining now. You all wouldn't wait on no resolution to get it solved, but I guarantee you it'd be taken care of. So what I'm standing here to tell you all, do your work. Do your work. Don't tell us something that you're going to do and don't do it. Speak it and so do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
My name is Bernice Crawford, and I live at 1844 Windmill Way, and I've been there about maybe 27 to 28 years. When I purchased my home, I moved there. It was a lovely environment. I didn't hardly see any flowers. I had flowers all over my yard. People began to plant flowers. On yesterday, my daughter and I canvassed Seven Hill area, and we took pictures of it. You would be surprised at the garbage that's in the bags, tied up, thrown on the ground, in front of the house, on side of the house, running out the garbage cans, lids open, okay? This is unfair to us. We are homeowners. I feel that Section 8, the landlords should be held accountable for their tenants' actions. One day, I can't remember the day, but I was sitting in my family room and we saw the landlord pull up across the street. So why would he be going to that lady's house if she's not at home? All of a sudden, he had all these bushes on his truck. He's beginning to take them off the truck and lay them on the ground. So we opened our curtains, let him know we see what you're doing. Then he pretended he was cutting all the bushes off the trees, okay? He was intending to dump that trash off of his truck in the field that Brother Joe was just talking about behind that ravine behind there. We're just asking you to help us to keep our community, as Opal said, up to snuff, up to par, a place where we live that we can still be proud of. Kids selling drugs, women coming in, moving in, Section 8, with their boyfriends, selling drugs, and we're tired of it. That's not fair to us. You know, we have visitors coming in our environment, in our neighborhood. We want to show off where we live. It looks nice like their neighborhood. My daughter asked a man yesterday to come to the meeting today. Oh, me and my wife have doctor's appointments. We get in the car to come here now. He's out there mowing the lawn. I said, he got to be kidding. This is where we live. It's okay for your house to be real cute and real pretty, but what about the rest of the neighborhood? That's not fair for a couple of people in the neighborhood to keep trying to clean up this filth behind the other people. We need either you're going to do right in our community or you need to move out. These landlords in Section 8 need to be responsible and held accountable for their people. They need a new contract. Maybe this committee can help them with a contract to show them what we're going to put up with and what we're not going to tolerate with. And this is what I leave to you all. When voting time comes, you expect us to come out and vote, which we do. But we also respectfully and hopefully that you work with us to help us keep our community clean. We also saw a house yesterday, and all the windows was broken out, the door was open. Anybody can go in there and do whatever they want to in their house. But apparently all the rest of the street was nice and clean. But it was one house and that one lot next to that one house. It was horrific. And I'm not lying to you. I got the pictures on my camera, on my telephone. We took pictures too. My daughter said, Mama, the lady sitting on the porch, don't take the picture. We got to get out of here. I said, they wasn't ashamed to put the garbage out on the street. So why should we be running from them from taking pictures? She said, girl, you don't want them to be doing something to us. I wasn't worried about that because this is where we live. And we want to enjoy coming to the house where we live. So we just asking you all to work with us. And don't forget 7 Hills, because we the last person on that totem pole out near 275. And we want to be remembered too. Thank you.
Is there anyone else?
Good evening.
Good
My
evening.
name is Talaine Crawford. I live at 1844 Windmill Way. The situation that I want to have addressed today is I sit in my window a lot of times. I see a lot of crime, a lot of things happen. And this one particular incident where I was getting ready to go to church one day, and this guy, he sells drugs, and his dog had gotten out. The dog had me pent in between two neighbors' cars. So I called the police later on that day. Once I got the dog away from me, I called the police. The police came, went straight to the person's house that I called on. And the officer told him that the lady at 1844 was the one that called on us. Another time I called, and I asked him, I said, would you please not? She said, well, your name is showing up on the caller ID. Do you want to be identified? I said, no. I saw a person selling some drugs. It was a large amount of drugs, like 3 or 4 times that day. I wanted to make sure of what I was actually seeing before I reported it. I called Springfield Township. They goes to the guy's house. Your neighbor down the street was the one that called. Then the police left that person's residence and came straight to my house. That was so obvious. The next day I go outside, the guy's girlfriend confronted me. And this was really, really bad. So now everybody on my street is seeing this. If you call the police and you want to report anything, they're going to come straight to your house first. I could see if it was domestic violence and I called for them to come and see about me, but I called to report the bad guys. But I turned out being the bad guy. So now nobody wants to call the police anymore. They won't call and report the crime that's going on because the police will come straight to you. They'll go back to that person and say, hey, your neighbor at blah, blah, blah was the one that called and reported you. And I just don't think that is something that should happen. And it's scary because like now I see things going on, I won't call. I won't say anything. I wait until we have our meetings, the end of the month, and we go and we sit and talk about it. But it's just us sitting and talking about it is not going to get any issues resolved. Wherever you have Section 8 certification, there comes the men. They're not the kids' fathers. These are just boyfriends that's coming in, they're selling drugs. I had a neighbor that lived next door to me, and she's deceased now. Somebody came in, they kicked her back door off the hinges, stole her safe, walked right out of there. And the next day she said, I just want to die. And a few weeks later, she died. This lady died knowing that, hey, if I call the police, they're going to come and get me. She was driving down 7 Hills Drive one day. Somebody threw a brick through her window, whole side of her face just bloody. Because the police tell when somebody calls. They tell the person who called on them. That should never be. So now you got people that's just not going to call the police and report anything anymore. So that's the issue that I would like to see somebody do something about it, even though I know your number pops up on a caller ID. But if you're saying, hey, I do not wish to have the officer come to my home, please don't give out my phone number. And the next thing I know, this girl is confronting me saying, I know that you called on my man and blah, blah, blah. That was a big confrontation. And that just should never have happened. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Ms. Crawford.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
My name is Jacob Williams, and I'm here today. I have some similar concerns that these previous people have. Seven Hills. I'm a retired driving instructor. I go to Seven Hills on a regular basis, been doing it for probably close to 20 years, okay? Now, the woman who's in charge of the BMV up there, her name is Diane MacArthur. For some reason decided, why, if I'm up there, it's no good, so she got you guys, whatever, to say I'm trespassing or loitering, and all I'm doing up there is selling driving lessons to people who already failed the driving test. Mind you, I've been doing this up there for close to 20 years. I used to be the driving instructor at Best One Driving School, which is right up there in that property. I've had your police force in my face numerous times over at least 3-year period. You know, I got a bullet in my back, I got shot in armed robbery, and 10, so the state says you gotta retire from being a driving instructor. But just because I got this bullet in my back doesn't mean that I forgot how to teach people how to drive. And I don't charge everybody. The thing is, I go up there and do it for absolutely free much of the time. I'm friends with all the examiners who are males. You know, we talk about football, the game, and stuff like that. Now, you want to talk about some busted out windows up there in Seven Hills? The car wash. Remember the old car wash? Years ago, when I first started working at Best One Driving School, I used to wash the cars there. But now, they got tumbleweeds rolling through the place. For how long? 5 years? Broken windows, that little apartment over above the car wash, those windows got broken out a couple weeks ago, and they're still shattered. I call it ghetto rhinestone. They're just laying pieces shattered all over the ground there. Now, these police you got, they can come up to me and tell me whoever this Diane MacArthur is don't want me there, but whoever owns that property of that car wash, and you guys know who it is, because I don't, but whoever owns that property isn't doing nothing to do anything about blight up there. Broken windows, busted out doors, and these doors, I was a kid once, when you had something like that, where you could just go up there, I wonder how many people got conceived up there by now, okay? So I'm gonna let you guys slide for now, but I'll be back.
Okay, is there anyone else? Well, I would like to say something, and Mr. Rivers is aware that in all the years that I've been here as trustee, and we have worked very diligently with the Seven Hills neighborhood. We have had our service department, our police department, our all of our departments, fire departments, everyone providing assistance and support and aids and putting together activities that would make your Seven Hills community and our community in Springfield Township a beacon of light and one to be proud of. The concerns that you have raised, we have addressed all of your concerns. We continue to do that, and it would take us the rest of this evening to lay out everything that we have done to help sustain Seven Hills, as well as to make it a community that you're proud to live in. We have no control over behaviors and social issues. For example, the car wash. Now, I recall, and Joe remembers this too, about 3-4 months ago, I went up to Seven Hills for a meeting, and we had the meeting in the car wash because we couldn't get in the church. It had been cleaned, it had been completely cleared up and everything. I don't know if we're aware of the broken glass and the most recent incident. If we are aware of it, I'd like to know have we already addressed it? If we have not been aware of it, we need you to make us aware of it immediately. But I know it was clean, everything was done. We even held the meeting there. So can you give me a status report on the car wash, anyone?
Yeah, the car wash, I asked both of our property inspectors. I recognize this past weekend that it had gotten into a deplorable state. So both of our property inspectors were out there on Monday. They reached out the property has just recently changed hands. It's on new ownership, and they're trying to work with the new owner to get everything cleaned up. So from a nuisance perspective, when the property changes hands and goes to a new owner, that means the legal process has to start all the way over. So we are aware of the issues at the car wash. We're taking a proactive stance to it. They've already engaged with the new owner, and we're hoping to get it cleaned up. If the new owner does not clean up, as we've done in the past, we'll run things through the nuisance process, and township staff, Public Works Department will go out there and clean it up. We just have to go through the necessary steps before we can do that.
I can remember regarding that car wash, it hasn't been too long ago that the place was full of trash. I mean, people and tell me if I got this wrong, but people would throw mattresses in there, just all kinds of garbage. And what did we spend to clean that thing up that time? It was in the thousands of dollars. We had to bring in trucks and a bunch of men to clean the whole thing out. And what happens? They fill it back up. And it's a frustrating situation. Mr. and Mrs. Rivers, Mrs. and Mrs. Crawford, I understand some of the complaints you have. We have worked on this. Some of these are outside of a township's control. Let me finish, Joe. And we can't control the voucher program. That's the federal government. We can't say, we've had enough vouchers, we don't want any more here. They care less what we say.
In fact, Joe, we actually tried. We drafted legislation for your federal legislators to adopt that would limit the amount of housing choice vouchers that could be in any one voting precinct, which is how they track population, right, is in precincts. And they didn't want to move on it. So we, at the local level, we don't have any control over the Section 8 program. And I think beyond that, regarding the park, we have invested a significant amount of money in the park. And if you remember, we put some playground equipment in there, and not a year afterwards, it was destroyed by the same kids that apparently have no place to go to play. So I'm not sure what else,
Well, any park in any area, even when I was a kid, parks got destroyed, but you had maintenance guys to fix it. Every park gets destroyed. You can't name a park that kids don't go in and vandalize it. But my question is, why aren't you guys holding these property owners? Why not?
And we are, Joe, and I think we've had that conversation many times.
We done had this conversation a dozen times.
And I can show you the reports of all the violations that we've issued and the amount of nuisances that we've cleaned up. I would argue that in Seven Hills alone in 2019, we've probably spent in the tens of thousands of dollars in cleaning up private property through the nuisance process.
But why you're not holding the property owners? The owners out here just eating up rent.
That's how we do
Getting rent from.
If we clean up the property, the assessment goes against the property owner's taxes.
Right, it goes on their taxes, so they have to pay for it.
Yeah,
we pay for it.
We pay for it, but they have to pay through their taxes. We eventually, hopefully, get it back.
Look, I
tried to talk to him. He had pulled on the grass. I said, hey, we fighting this out here. You guys pulling on grass out here. We don't want our lawns. This is my property. I said, well, you ought to know better. You're a property owner. You shouldn't be pulling on the grass. I said, where do you live at? He said, Liberty Township. I said, would you pull on the grass out there? No, you wouldn't.
I've had similar
why
conversations with people, Joe. I get it. I've had the same exact phone
But we got to hold them responsible. We got to find these people. We got to make them responsible. They need to tell their tenants, you will dump your garbage. You will get your garbage cans off the street at a certain time. You will pay your water bill. You will cut your grass.
Here's where I think the confusion
lies,
Joe.
happening.
Here's the issue. Here's where I think a lot of this is a misunderstanding of what our legal ability is. I can't tell people right now, when they have to take their trash off the curb, their garbage
The landlord can.
Okay, but I can't require the landlord to do that is the point. And here's the other point.
Well, who can?
Well, here's the issue. CMHA. That's who they're getting their rent from.
Right.
And if they came out there and they looked at these properties and said, this is trashing Springfield Township, we're cutting off that landlord's rent, then something would happen. But they're not doing that. And I know there was a time, Chief, where we worked with them, or we still do,
Every day.
But every day?
Well, maybe that's what I need to do, is start getting a hold of metropolitan housing and we start.
They're the ones.
That's what I would
And I'd be happy to do it with you. Here's the other issue, is that regarding pulling on and our law director here will attest to this. We are as frustrated as you are regarding how these processes work. For example, if someone parks in their yard, which that's something you and I have talked about, that people pull up in their yard. We send an inspector out and say, hey, you have to move your vehicle off the yard. You can't have it there. They move it. They put it back again. Each time they do that is a new violation. I have to open a new case every time they move the vehicle. I can't change that. That's how the Ohio law works. So these processes that you're frustrated with aren't laws that we've adopted and that we're just blindly ignoring or not enforcing. These are hoops that we have to jump through because state or federal law mandates it. I didn't make these crazy laws up, Joe. Look, if I was king, you wouldn't have these issues. But unfortunately, these trustees and I have had these work sessions where we talk about this ad nauseum. They're just as frustrated as anybody, and believe me, they come to me. When they talk to you, they come to me and say, Chris, why aren't we dealing with this? And I have to explain, this is what the process is, this is what the law is. They know that now. Unfortunately, I don't think the public, for a lot of reasons, aren't as intimate and familiar with the laws as we are. You shouldn't be. That's what we're here for. But I think the confusion lies is that you're frustrated with us because you think we're not doing anything. I'm telling you we are. The frustration really is with the process that we have to follow and the limitations legally that we have to deal with the concerns that you have. For example, trash. I could go out there every single morning and pick up trash on Hamilton Avenue and in those parking lots of those businesses. And guess what? The next day, it's going to look like we were never there again.
You're right. You can't control people's behavior. But I think if the landlord said, hey, any garbage in front of your door, you need to pick it up. That would cut the problem down tremendously.
Mr. Rivers, what I would like to suggest, the same passion that you have shared with us and our community in Seven Hills over the years, take that passion to the CMA meetings, okay? Let them know that you have spoken with us on numerous occasions. We have responded to every concern that you have shared with us. But there are some issues, as Chris has indicated, that are beyond our capability to deal with. We do not screen those individuals that are coming out there to get vouchers. We do not screen, we don't make house calls to see if they got an old man in there with with the kids. We're not supposed to do that. So when you see those types of things that are very frustrating, all of you go to a CMA meeting. You know when the meetings are. If you don't, we will give you the times, the dates, and everything. Go in there with force, just as you have done with us. Over the years, we have addressed everything that you've brought. We even have assigned special staff just to cover Seven Hills. But the issues regarding Section 8 and vouchers and woman moving in and her old man comes in afterwards and comes in and out and sells drugs, if that woman is the head of that household and the only one that's supposed to be in there with children, then you report that's not happening. And let CMA deal with that, okay? We have no control over that.
Would CMA hold the property owners liable or hold them responsible for the way their tenants does?
And concerns, they will.
Yeah.
They will.
They'll cut them off is what they do.
Well, that's what they're,
They won't let them be in the program anymore, so they can't have any more Section 8.
But again, that would be up to them. We don't
That's
have
up
any
to them.
control over them. As much as we would like to, we don't.
Mike, I got a question, just on the car wash. If there's a complaint and we go out, how long does the process take where we can actually go clean it up?
3 to 6 weeks.
3 to 6 weeks. That's the law, depending
Well,
on
what
when
about
it
the
goes to the
businesses?
court.
What can we do to make them clean? It's just the Arab business. I ain't gonna say it's the BMV, that guy be out there every day with a truck, cleaning the lot, sweeping it good. It's the businesses that's owned by the Arabs or the foreign guys. They don't clean up. They don't pick trash up. The guy with the custom motor shop, he got junk vehicles that we got to drive down Seven Hills and look over there and see all this, when all he got to do is put a privacy fence up with a gate so we cannot see that stuff when we go into our neighborhood. I hate coming in Seven Hills sometimes. It's stressful. It's just disgusting neighborhood I ever seen. I done lived in some pretty bad places, and this Seven Hills is the most disgusting place I ever lived in. It's just disgusting. You know, you go in there and you see chicken bones all in the highway and lottery tickets and liquor bottles.
I have
Just-
praise all over.
Sometimes I be want to take this trash when I pick it up and go on their lot and just dump it on their lot.
Do that.
Say, this is your stuff.
Yeah, don't
Stop putting it in my neighborhood. I'm tired of looking at it. I'm tired of picking it up.
I have praise.
I don't know what to do.
I'm
But who
in
do you
9
think's putting it
counties.
there?
Huh?
Who do you think's putting it there?
We don't know. They said they got cameras up there. I called Lieutenant Niehaus to see can we access the camera and see who dumped all that trash on there. You should have seen it, man. It was
My
just,
guess is-
it was like 1,000 lottery tickets that they just threw up in the air. Then it was uneaten restaurant food all in the road, half-eaten hamburgers, chicken bones, you name it, was right in the road.
Go up and down Cross
You know,
County Highway and look
it's
at the
right there
median.
on Spruce Hill, right there by Spruce Hills and Blue Hills, 2 cameras right there on the apartments.
Trash is an issue everywhere. I mean, we work with various agencies to clean up Cross County Highway and the median. We're aware, trash is a problem everywhere.
And I understand it, but I've never seen that in nobody's neighborhood but this one.
But
I've seen trash.
But let's
in
think
other
about
neighborhoods,
why. You think it's because we're going
got-
you think it's because the township is going to all these neighborhoods and cleaning them up?
I
and we're just
don't
not
know,
cleaning up
but
Seven Hills?
we got raw garbage in our neighborhood.
you know that's not true.
He knows it's not true. He's just
Yeah.
very passionate.
There's not trash there because the people that live in those particular neighborhoods aren't doing that. We're not doing anything special from a township perspective to clean up those neighborhoods, and we're ignoring Seven Hills. I assure you, as sure as I sit here, that is not happening. It's just because, for whatever reason, people in those areas aren't littering.
But I think the bottom line is, as I shared with you, Joe, today, because you and I have had numerous conversations, and the thing that, like I've always said, behaviors we cannot control
And I
unless they're
understand
doing something crazy and illegal, and then we can. But then we have to be careful, make sure we're staying legal, because the next thing you know, we'll be charged with harassment and et cetera. But if a person is creating a crime, then they have to pay the price. When our police have made numerous arrests, they have done everything they can, and as long as I've been your trustee, I've seen that happen, because Seven Hills was one of my top priorities, to make sure that we provided good care, good, safe neighborhoods for everybody that lived there. Some of the things we have no control over, which is what Chris just said. So I would suggest that as many of our residents that are here tonight, that you start attending those CMA meetings. And trust me, I would hope and pray, and I believe that you would begin to see maybe more changes.
I'm gonna try that.
I would suggest you do that.
I'll get back with you and see how that work out, but.
Joe, and as I sit here, I'm thinking about different ideas to help some of these issues. I do have one. Let me talk to the board about it first. I don't want to speak out of turn and put my foot in my
Please
mouth
don't.
like I usually do.
Joe
So
will bring it up, he will let you.
let me talk to the board first, and she keeps me out of trouble.
All right.
So let me see if it'll work, and then I'll get with you.
All right.
And I would just like to say something. There was one more question. There's a young lady that brought up a concern about making, you can have a seat, Joe, because the young lady raised a concern about if she makes a phone call to the police and the police will come to her house if she reports a particular activity that's illegal in her neighborhood, which is providing from her an unsafe situation, and I agree. Can you explain the process, Chief? If a phone call comes through, if I call in that it's at 6109, let's say Evans Street, there's some drug dealing going on, there's something going on, and or there's a fight, or somebody's getting or shooting up or something, what's the process?
That sounds highly irregular to me, and I wish when we're finished here, I want particulars on this, because this doesn't typically happen. We receive a lot of calls, and we really don't care who calls us. We don't, like I said, there's got to be more to this story, and I'm more than happy to look into the particulars of these incidents, because particularly on drug investigations, the last thing we do is go and knock on somebody's door. We open an investigation, and again, that's another one of the processes that we're talking about. It's a legal process that can take a long time. But I can assure you, if you called the police and said somebody just sold a large amount of drugs, we're not going to go knock on their door. That is not a standard police practice. We're a nationally accredited police department. That's not what we do. That's not how we work. So I need to speak with you after this and get the particulars of these 2 calls that you made, because it sounds highly irregular to me. So
That's not our procedure.
that's not our procedure.
And sometimes what happens, it happens with property cases too, is that just because a neighbor comes up to you and says, I know you called on me, doesn't mean that we told them that.
No, absolutely not.
So unless you know for sure that we told your neighbor that, your neighbor could just be saying that because that's the assumption. I take those calls a lot that they say, I know that my neighbor so-and-so called on me. I didn't tell them that, but they assume that anyway. So I think sometimes that happens too.
Right, and
Assumed it was true. It wasn't assumed. The girl confronted me right after it happened. The police officer stood right there. He went to her, he came to me, went to her, and then she said, I know you was the one that told on me. The officer said, your neighbor at 1844, and she confronted me the very next day.
Okay, I'm saying in that situation, I'm saying in most situations that isn't how it usually plays out, but he'll figure it out.
Okay, if you two can get together after the meeting, so he can get more information and details.
If I could say one thing,
Excuse me, could we, Mr. Hunter is stating something.
this is directed to everybody who's spoken. If I could say one thing, we've all been in Seven Hills. We've all seen the things you're talking about. None of us here disbelieve, we believe you. And I've seen stuff there and you think, how in the hell can people, do this kind of stuff, live like this? I saw a house where they were throwing their just trash out on their carport. They had the carport full. Instead of, putting it out to Rumpke, they were just filling their carport up with trash. But we got to get, for a lot of those people, as you said, they're on Section 8. We have to get the cooperation of CMHA to do something about this. It is beyond what the township alone can do. I will tell you that and all these people over here, our police, our fire, the service department, they're all going to tell you that as a neighborhood, Seven Hills probably uses more services. There's more calls for service than there are in many of our other areas. And we come, and we try and do what we can do, but, some of it we're not, some of it's societal, we're not going to be able to change. But I do think we will work with you. We'll do anything we can with CMHA to try and get people out. I know our policy was always, if there's a drug bust, if they're on voucher program, they're not supposed, if they're doing drugs, committing crimes, then that disqualifies them from the program, right, Chief?
well, somewhat. So,
I thought that's the way they used to do it.
It is. And we actually give all of our records on a monthly basis to CMHA so that they can run that against their system to see who's voucher recipients. Now, there's been some things I've heard in the past where actually if you live in Hamilton County and your voucher's removed from you, you can go right up to Butler County, which is 1.5 miles from Seven Hills, and receive one in Butler County. So again, a system that we absolutely have no control over. We don't agree with it. We don't like it. So it's just kind of displacing one problem to another issue. But, the vouchers are portable. They can go and, you can get one in the next county up or another state, even if it's taken from you in Hamilton County.
Thank you, Chief. Yes, sir.
My name is Keith Wilcox.
Hello,
I live
Mr.
at
Wilcox.
10921 Tangleberry Court. You are the government of Springfield Township. Why do you tell us to go to CMA? Why don't you go?
We have.
Go again.
But we have not, but you have more power from the residents who can tell their story. We've been in touch, we put regulations together, we put restrictions that they have to follow through, but it's up to the people as well to help support us. We've done it, and I'm just asking for you all to attend the meetings and to have the same passion. We've done that, sir. Sir, that's what we've done.
But Mr. Wilcox, here's the difference. If we go there and say, we have this entire neighborhood that's upset about it, they don't care what we say. They have to see you for it to have a force, an effect. You can say that all day long, that it's our job, and you're right, it is. And we've done it. But you, the people, going there shows more force than us as staff people going to their meetings. They don't care what we say. That's just the reality of it.
I think they'll listen to you
I
more.
disagree. You'd
I
be surprised.
disagree. So what I would like to say as we are closing the meeting is, Joe and the residents in Seven Hills, you know what we've done. We've responded. We've done a lot to help improve Seven Hills. We will continue to do that in spite of, okay? But you, Joe, I just want to say another thing too, is that there's some good things that's happening in Seven Hills, and it's not all gloom and doom. I know right now it feels that way, but we have been working with you at all the different staff levels throughout the years. And I can say that very honestly because it's the truth, it's the facts. So if you guys can, as a group, attend a CMHA meeting, express your concerns, let them know you've come to us and we referred you back there because we've met with them before. Put the pressure on them from a community perspective as well. We're doing it as elected officials. The other thing is the great things that SHAG has done. Sometimes, and Joe's heard me say this, there's been some great things that SHAG has done and is doing. I know Joe gets very frustrated because he feels like he's the only man out there on an island trying to deal with the Seven Hills issues. He's not, but it feels that way for him. But we've always been here, we've always been available, accessible, and we will continue to do what we can to help support Seven Hills community. Please? You mean tonight? Any resolutions that have come to any resolutions, we've had meetings all summer, all year. Seven Hills has been on those in our meetings. It's tonight, we don't have it.
Well,
But that doesn't mean they've never been on
properties,
there.
there may be some nuisance properties that are on there that would be part of a resolution.
Well, but we've actually, over the years, have identified it by address.
Right.
So that's what I think Joe's asking. So perhaps, Joe, since this is September, from January through July, August, they've been there, so one meeting, it's not. But if there's some new nuisances that you see, that you feel like we need to have access to that information or needs updated, you know who to go to, and we'll follow up with that and let you know what the outcomes are.
I've said this repeatedly, if there are properties with specific violations, yeah, and this is the way this runs across the whole township. We can't have our people out, patrolling all 400 streets, looking at every property all the time. Most of our nuisance cases are complaint driven. Somebody calls in and says, hey, my neighbor's property is a dump. What are you going to do about it? And so that's how the process starts. We've talked about this, Joe. You give us a list, we're going to have somebody inspect them. I know we even talked about if there are abandoned properties out there, we'll go to the Port Authority, see if there's a way that we can try and tear them down. We've talked about this in the past. We'll do that. And if you all want to go, get organized and go to a CMHA meeting, we will put pressure on CMHA to do something for you, at least to enforce the rules they have. But I mean, it's like the chief said, these people, they know how to game the system. All right, then they get kicked out of Seven Hills, they'll go up, a couple miles up the road and they'll get one in Butler County. And then they'll be back, and that's the kind of, but that is something we have no control over. I wish we did. I wouldn't, then we wouldn't be sitting here talking about this. We'd get rid of them. We don't want them in Springfield Township.
No. And I'd like to close the meeting by saying something. Joe and my neighbors in Seven Hills, Joe has given us, and you all have written, names, addresses, pages of nuisances. We have responded to those. It's not like we've never done that. So I don't want anyone in this room feeling or believing that we've never addressed those, because we have. And Joe knows we have. Many of you all are aware that we have as well. So after the meeting, I would like the young lady to speak with our police chief, and I would, if there's no one else that has anything to say, I'd like to entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All in
Seconded.
favor?
Aye. Thank you. So the young lady, if you will speak with our chief.